How does a militia force without an air force dare to challenge the most powerful military on Earth? This isn't a conventional war, and the Houthi rebels are far from a traditional adversary. While the United States unleashes precision strikes from aircraft carriers worth billions of dollars, the Houthis counter with rusty pickup trucks, modified Soviet-era missiles, and a basic yet effective tactic: shoot and scoot. But this conflict isn't just about bombs and bullets. It's about strategy, attrition, and terrain. Even a superpower can falter. As the US deploys its most advanced arsenal stealth fighters, precision-guided missiles, surveillance satellites, and multi-billion-dollar carriers, the Houthis play an entirely different game. They don't build massive bases, nor do they rely on radar or runways. Their strategy is far simpler. They employ a tactic known as shoot and move. They fire a missile and within minutes relocate to a new position, disappearing into the rugged mountains. Instead of centralizing their weapons, they scatter across the landscape like a swarm of bees. Every hill, every ravine, every boulder could conceal a deadly threat. This makes Yemen a battlefield impossible to fully clear, even under relentless assault. While the Houthis blend into the dust and rock across the sea, a war machine grinds into action. Aircraft carriers like the USS Carl Vinson and USS Harry Truman take up positions in the Red Sea. They're not alone. They're flanked by destroyers, cruisers, and submarines. Their mission is clear: establish dominance, send a warning, and, if necessary, strike first. But before that happens, it all begins with a silent operation. Unmanned surveillance drones like the MQ-9 Reaper patrol the area 24/7. Satellites in orbit zero in on targets. The goal is to track every Houthi movement. Launch sites, weapon caches, command centers, nothing can slip through. And once a target is locked, the game changes. When the American giant decides to strike, it does so with near-perfect precision. Destroyers on the surface, submarines below, and when the order comes, the sky and ground shake simultaneously. From the ocean, dozens of Tomahawk missiles streak into the air. They launch silently, but their explosions echo for miles. Each missile targets radars, missile launchers, air defense systems, and drone bases of the enemy. This is the first wave. The second wave belongs to fighter jets in the sky. F/A-18 Hornets take off from carrier decks, each loaded with GPS or laser-guided munitions, typically aimed at strategic targets. In Sada, 12 airstrikes have been reported. In Sufal, a power plant was knocked out, leaving thousands without electricity. In Ib, the deadliest strike hit 2 residential buildings. In Hodeidah, a major oil port was recently pounded. In the capital, Sana'a, 8 airstrikes rocked the city. One of those strikes targeted a neighborhood where, according to intelligence, senior Houthi commanders were operating. The threat and response are unmistakable, yet the Houthis endure. So the question remains: how does an irregular militia survive all this? How do they stand firm after such devastating attacks? The answer isn't in manpower or technology, but in the terrain they occupy. The Houthis know they're fighting an asymmetric war. They don't have traditional trenches or fortifications. They control the northwestern mountains of Yemen, including the capital, Sana'a.
Families have been displaced.
In a country where roads are obscured by desert, cliffs, and valleys, this gives them an edge no missile can erase. Forget fixed bases. The Houthis don't stay put. They mount short-range ballistic missiles and drones on trucks. They fire, move, hide, reappear, and repeat. By the time a US missile arrives, the launcher is long gone. Meanwhile, at sea, the US Naval Strike Group is more than just a fleet. It's a floating city designed to wage war from any point on the globe. At its core is a carrier capable of launching up to 130 aircraft. Flanking it are Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, experts in air defense. Ahead is a Ticonderoga-class cruiser, versatile and lethal, equipped with missiles, torpedoes, and the ability to support strikes on land, sea, or air. Behind is a smaller, faster destroyer focused on escort duties and neutralizing minor threats. And beneath the waves, a silent predator. Virginia-class submarines can accompany the strike group, hunting enemies who don't even know they're being tracked. This is raw power with global reach. When targets in Yemen are identified, the carrier comes alive. From its deck, F/A-18 Hornets roar to life. Their engines fire up one by one, and within minutes they're airborne, armed with one of the most effective weapons in the modern arsenal, JDAM bombs. But these are no ordinary explosives. Before release, they receive precise coordinates from the aircraft: location, speed, altitude. Once dropped, GPS guidance kicks in, turning them into smart munitions that hit targets with pinpoint accuracy within a 16-foot margin of error. These JDAMs, along with the extended-range JDAM-ER and laser-guided paveway variants, can strike deep inland up to 45 miles, destroying bunkers, Soviet-era missile launchers, or any fixed structure in a single hit, all at a fraction of the cost of a Tomahawk cruise missile. And if the enemy moves, laser guidance takes over. The bomb detects the reflection of a laser marker from another aircraft or unit and adjusts its trajectory in real time. The result is a destroyed vehicle, a neutralized launcher, or a target obliterated. At sea, a nuclear submarine maintains stealth just a few miles off Yemen's coast. It can operate for nearly 140 days without surfacing. Without permission, it waits for the signal to launch Tomahawks. But why so close? Because the Houthis often take up to 2 hours to relocate after firing. That window is the opportunity a sea-launched cruise missile can exploit for a kill. The final U.S. strike wave relies on versatile EA-18G Growler aircraft, deploying smart bombs like JDAMs or AGM-88 anti-radiation missiles capable of destroying or crippling radar systems with near-perfect precision. But there's a problem no guidance system can solve. While the U.S. plays to win through technology and accuracy, the Houthis play to blockade the world, and they do it from a single point on the map, the el-Mandeb Strait, known as the Gate of Tears. This narrow waterway is so tight that a single attack could paralyze it. Up to 11% of global maritime trade passes through here, from oil and containers to essential goods. And right here, the Houthis have found their greatest tactical advantage, making the world fear crossing this route. Look at how they execute attacks. They lack a navy or advanced radar, but they have ingenuity and upgraded Soviet missiles. Scenario 1. Attack with P-21 missiles. If a civilian ship nears the coast within a 50-mile range, the Houthis can launch a Cold War-era P-21 anti-ship missile from a hidden truck. An initial booster lifts the missile skyward, then a secondary engine activates analog radar to seek a target. Once locked, it dives like a shark, and if it hits the right spot, it can sink a cargo vessel in seconds. Though built in 1985, the damage it inflicts remains significant, and the global impact is undeniable. Scenario 2. Iran modified SA-2 missiles. If the target is within 28 miles, they opt for an even older Soviet SA-2, upgraded by Iran into an anti-ship weapon. Originally designed to down aircraft, it's now ground-launched to hunt commercial ships. Decades old, it can still pierce a modern hull if it strikes true. Both missile types are fired from mobile launchers, hard to detect, easy to hide, and crucially, they sow fear on trade routes, forcing U.S. intervention. Yet, on the 26th of March, 3 anti-ship ballistic missiles and 2 cruise missiles tore through the Red Sea sky at Mach 3.5, targeting a U.S. destroyer. The Houthis don't fire randomly, they know their intent. The assault lasted 10 hours with strategic pauses to test U.S. Navy reaction times, surveillance patterns, and response capabilities. Though all missiles were intercepted this time, the real damage isn't in sunk ships, but in international tension, paralyzed trade routes, and emergency meetings at the Pentagon. This wasn't just an attack, it was a rehearsal for what's next. If the target isn't a destroyer but a carrier or Berkeley-class ship, the Houthi plan shifts to calculated lethality. Phase 1. Disruption. A swarm of drones launches simultaneously, not to inflict damage but to blind sensors and overload radar. Defense systems panic, triggering interceptors, automatic cannons, and electronic countermeasures. The systems tire and Phase 2 begins. The Houthis deploy older missiles. From multiple positions, they fire P-15 or P-21S, slow Soviet-era weapons with warheads potent enough to cripple critical ship compartments. They're easy to intercept, but if one slips through, the consequences are severe. Phase 3. The final blow. From close range, they launch upgraded SA-2S, traveling at Mach 3.5, so fast that defense systems have mere seconds to react. But the US can't afford complacency, as next time, missiles could be faster, radar jamming more intense, targets larger, and outcomes catastrophic. Amid escalating tensions, each clash isn't just a test of military might, but of willpower and adaptability. The Houthis, with guerrilla tactics on land and sea, send a clear message: they won't be easily subdued, even by a superpower like the US. In reality, this war isn't confined to Yemen or the Red Sea. It impacts the world's vital trade arteries. The el-Mandeb Strait, which the Houthis exploit ruthlessly, isn't just a military hotspot, but a global economic choke point. Each attack, even if unsuccessful, can rattle oil and commodity markets, forcing nations and shipping firms to reroute, raising costs and delays. This is the Houthi strategy. They don't need to defeat the US on the battlefield. They just need to make the cost of military and commercial presence in the region prohibitively high. Meanwhile, the US and its allies can't withdraw without losing credibility. Carrier strike groups maintain a robust presence, with fighters and submarines on constant alert. But each day, the cost of these operations climbs, not to mention the risk of being drawn into a protracted conflict with no clear exit. The Houthis, with covert regional backing, could fight for years, leveraging rugged terrain and patience to erode their opponent's resolve. A major question lingers. Can US technology and overwhelming power overcome the Houthis' asymmetric tactics? Or will this war end not in military victory, but through political deals and concessions on both sides? For now, no one can predict with certainty. What's clear is that every missile launched, every airstrike conducted, adds a new chapter to the book of modern warfare, where strength doesn't always guarantee victory. In the near future, if the Houthis continue upgrading weapons and receiving external support, the threat to military and commercial ships in the Red Sea will grow. The US and allies may need to consider harsher measures, including deploying additional forces or launching ground operations to dismantle Houthi strongholds. However, any such move risks heavy casualties and international backlash, especially given Yemen's devastation from years of civil war and humanitarian crisis. Ultimately, the US Houthi confrontation isn't just a military clash, but a test of strategy and endurance. The Houthis, with limited resources, prove that a small, agile, determined force can unsettle a superpower. Meanwhile, the US grapples with balancing global maritime security against the quagmire of an endless conflict. Whatever the outcome, this war will leave profound lessons on how asymmetric warfare can reshape geopolitical dynamics in the 21st century. It's time to sign off. We hope today's content has provided valuable insights. If you found it informative, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more compelling updates. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, and we'll see you at the same time tomorrow.